So let's talk about the single most important concept in all of JavaScript, functions. Seriously, if you think of your code like a massive construction project, then functions are your Lego bricks. They're the fundamental, reusable blocks you snap together to build literally anything you could imagine.
Okay, so why do we even need them? Well, let's look at this. Imagine you need to greet a few people in your app. You might start by writing code that looks something like this. And hey, it works, but what happens when you need to greet 100 people? Or what if you decide you want to change the greeting from hello to hi there? You'd have to go back and edit every single line. It's repetitive, it's messy, and honestly, it's a total nightmare to manage.
You bet there is. And that, my friends, is exactly what functions are for. They are the better way.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with the what and why of functions. Then we'll get into the nuts and bolts of how to declare and call them. After that, we'll check out some cool modern tools like arrow functions, then dive into their environment with scope and closures. And finally, we'll wrap it all up by building a real practical example together.
All right, so what is this elegant solution to our messy, repetitive code problem? Well, it's the function.
At its heart, this is all a function is. It's a named package of code that does one specific thing. Instead of writing the same instructions over and over and over again, you just package them up, give that package a name, and you're good to go.
And doing this gives you three huge, and I mean huge, benefits. First, reusability. You write that greeting logic just once, and you can use it 1,000 times with zero extra effort. Second, modularity. A big, scary, complex program just becomes a simple collection of small, easy-to-understand functions. And finally, maintainability. Need to change that greeting? You change it in one single place. That's it. So much simple, right? Okay, so we've got the why locked down. Now let's get into the how. This is the actual blueprint for creating and using these powerful tools in your own code. Now, to really get this, you need to know two key terms that people often mix up: parameters and arguments. When you first define your function, the placeholders you list for the data it needs, those are parameters. Think of them as the ingredients list in a recipe, like flour or sugar. Then, when you actually use or call the function, the real values you pass in, like 2 cups of flour or 1 cup of sugar, those are the arguments. So parameters are the placeholders, arguments are the real deal.
So a function takes in data through arguments, but how does it give an answer back? It uses the return keyword. This is the function's final output. And you have to remember this crucial rule. The absolute moment a function hits a return statement, it's done. It hands back the value and stops running immediately. Any code you write after that line, it's just ignored. It'll never run.
All right, we've nailed the classic blueprint. Now, let's level up and look at some of the more flexible and modern ways we can write functions in JavaScript. You're going to see these everywhere in today's code bases.
So on the left, you've got the function declaration. That's the classic way we've been talking about. But on the right, we have a function expression. Here, you basically create a function without a name and assign it to a variable. Now, the biggest difference between them is this weird concept called hoisting. Declarations are hoisted, which means JavaScript kind of mentally lifts them to the top of your code so you can call them even before they appear. Expressions aren't, so you have to define them first before you can use them. It's a really important distinction.
Now, let's take that function expression and evolve it into its most modern and, frankly, coolest form, the arrow function. These are super popular because they let you write code that is incredibly clean and concise. So here's our starting point, a simple function expression that just adds 2 numbers. Okay, step 1 is super easy. We're just going to get rid of the function keyword completely. Then, right after the parameters, we add what everyone calls a fat arrow. It's just an equal sign followed by a greater than sign. That's pretty much the main change right there. And here is where arrow functions are just chef's kiss. It's magic. For simple one-line functions like this, you can make them even shorter. You can ditch the curly braces, and you can ditch the return keyword. The return is just implied. I mean, look at that. How clean and easy to read is that compared to where we started? So we know how to build functions, but it turns out that where you build them matters just as much. We need to talk about the environment our functions live in, and that brings us to 2 of the most important concepts in the language, scope and closures. Scope is actually a pretty simple idea. It just answers the question, where is this variable available? If you declare a variable outside of any function, it's global. Think of it like it's out in the open town square. Anyone and anything in your code can see it and change it. But if you declare a variable inside a function, it has local scope. It's private, protected inside the function's walls. Nothing outside that function can even see it exists. This is absolutely critical for writing clean, bug-free code.
Understanding scope leads us to one of the certified superpowers of JavaScript, the closure. A closure is basically a function with a memory. It remembers the environment, that local scope, where it was born. And this means it can still access all the variables from that scope, even long after its parent function has finished running. It's like the function carries around a little backpack of data from its home. It's an incredibly powerful idea.
Okay, theory is great, but let's be honest. The best way to make these concepts really stick is to get our hands dirty and build something. So let's put it all together and create a simple, practical function right now.
We're going to build a simple Celsius to Fahrenheit converter. So first, we'll declare a function and call it convert to Fahrenheit. Second, it needs an input, so we'll give it one parameter, Celsius. Third, we'll write the actual math, the conversion logic inside. And fourth, we'll use return to send back the final answer. You know what? Let's use that slick arrow function syntax we just learned. The final code looks like this. Const convert to Fahrenheit equals Celsius, comma, Celsius times 9/5 plus 32. Look at that. In one clean, readable line, we've built a reusable, maintainable tool. That right there is the power of functions.
So let's do a quick lightning round recap. Number 1, functions are your reusable building blocks. Number 2, you use parameters for inputs and return for outputs. 3, arrow functions give you a beautifully clean, modern syntax. 4, scope acts like walls, defining where your variables can be accessed. And 5, closures give your functions a special memory of the environment where they were created.
We've just gone over the complete blueprints for JavaScript's most essential feature. You're not just writing random lines of code anymore. You're designing powerful, elegant, reusable components. You have a full box of Legos now. So, the only question left is, what amazing thing are you going to build first?